For developers nowadays, would you recommend going to university?
The main benefit of university is actually meeting other people, networking and stuff like that, getting to know companies in the relevant space. The work was pretty challenging as well, since it was my first job. Every first job is usually a challenge.
How did you handle that part, like the pressure?
If you're a junior developer, you should try to seek out opportunities that might offer mentorship.
We have these huge expectations on AI. A lot of them think that AI can handle everything. So how do you manage these expectations?
I'm not too worried about AI taking my job. You can't really be a good developer without using AI. The current situation is on the market is kind of rough, but that's due to many factors: AI, inflation.
Nowadays with AI, you can build craft these amazing CVs and you can look amazing on paper, but in reality, you might not have any skills.
Definitely try to get the approval of previous clients. That's massively good advice. But also try to take a look at their portfolio, maybe like a little bit closer, because a lot of these people nowadays are submitting projects that aren't actually theirs.
Welcome back, everybody, to the Founder's Gambit. If you're a founder who's been burned by developers, or you're a developer who's sick of chaos and unclear projects, this episode is for you. Today we are flipping the script. Instead of talking to a founder, we're talking to one of the developers who is actually building the products. My guest is my good friend Ilija, and he's one of the most reliable senior developers I've ever worked with. I've seen him rescue broken MVPs, push back on the bad product decisions, and help founders turn half-baked ideas into real software. And in this conversation, we're going to bridge the gap between founders and the developers. Ilija, welcome to the podcast.
Hi there. Thanks for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
Yeah, me too. So I think the best way to start is if you tell us a bit about how did you become a developer?
Yeah, so it's a bit of a long-winded story. Essentially, it started out way back in high school, I think, where they introduced software development to us. Mainly, it was what interested me the most was developing in JavaScript, but we touched on so many technologies and so many subjects, things like C Sharp, C++, Java, even some like microcontroller, Arduino programming and stuff like that. So that's actually when I first discovered my passion for this subject, and then from there on, I went on to a university where I did a master's in software development, and then now here we are, so many years later.
Amazing, yeah. So you've been here for a long time, right, in development. And let's talk a bit about your first job. How did that transition happen from the university and school to an actual job?
Yeah, so actually, my university helped me land my first job. At my university, we had an agency hold a workshop for web development technologies. And in that workshop, we focused on things like the basics of HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. But the course also evolved into using React, and later on, even like things like Next.js. So during that workshop, I was one of the four people that excelled the most. And after the workshop was done, I was invited to have an interview with the company. We instantly clicked, and I was invited onto the team. So I would say that the university helped me a bunch, and throughout my studies, I already began working at that company, which gave me a massive edge when compared to other people who were just studying.
That makes sense. And for developers nowadays, would you recommend going to the university for them as well, or should they choose an alternative education path and learn on their own through Udemy, YouTube, and all these different platforms?
That's kind of a tricky subject, and I would say it mostly depends on where in the world they are. Here in Croatia, we've got a free public education system for universities. So here it might make more sense. Whereas if the person is based in the US, they would have to incur a very large debt to cover the studies. So maybe there it wouldn't make as much sense. Um, Regarding like the amount of knowledge the person receives, that also varies vastly based on from university to university. I believe that my university prepared me really well, but it also it's only going to give you, I would say, like a solid base, and then it depends upon the person if they're gonna put in the extra effort and make the most of it. I would say the main benefit of a university is actually meeting other people, networking and stuff like that, getting to know companies in the relevant space, uh, and the knowledge is, even though it's advantageous, and I've had many benefits from my studies. For example, in quite a few interviews, I was asked things such as design patterns and other advanced development techniques, which I would I don't I'm not sure if how many Udemy courses or whatnot actually cover design patterns and stuff like that. So I think that it's a pretty hard decision to make. The university, or like a master's degree can be really beneficial, and companies will probably favor somebody with a degree versus a person without a degree. But it's not the ultimate like end all be all that maybe it used to be. And the main thing that's actually evaluated is like the knowledge that the person has.
Yeah, I can agree to all of that. And I would say, like you said, it's maybe like 5, 10 years before ago, it maybe had bigger impact than it has now, because
Yeah.
these alternate education systems has really leveled up and can provide you with a lot of knowledge. So it's not a necessity, but I agree. Like the connections you make, the people you meet, the whole life around it, I think is beneficial.
I would also like to add on. My university days were some of the most fun days I've ever had, and I believe they massively shaped me as a person, and like the whole experience of, especially if the university is in another city, the whole experience of going to another city, living there, and kind of easing into the adult life is such a massive benefit that just because of that, I would encourage people to seek out higher education. But as you said, alternative techniques, studying techniques and stuff like that have evolved so much that you can basically Google anything. You can find a YouTube video on anything. You can find different courses, or even use like AI and like forums and stuff like that to get basically any knowledge. But university studies kind of offer a bit more of a structured approach, I would say. So it can be still, it can still like give you an edge against learning something on your own and having to go and find that information. Yeah.
That makes sense. Yeah, you have some kind of structure and you're not alone in that.
Yeah.
I'd like to go back on the first job that you mentioned. How was that like, especially like still being in university and doing that job? Was that challenging, and what were you working on?
It was definitely challenging at times. I'm lucky enough to have been employed at a company that valued me and kind of gave me the freedom I needed to pursue my studies. So like during midterms and stuff like that, my obligations and like the workload would often get toned down a little bit. So I had a bit more free time to focus on the studies. Uh, it was still a challenge, and a lot of sacrifices had to be made, a lot of like parties missed and stuff like that. But I don't regret it even a little bit. The work was um, pretty challenging as well, since it was my first job. Every first job is usually a challenge.
So how did you handle these challenges? Like there was for sure a moment where you were like, "Oh, okay, this is harder than what I expected. This is not university anymore. This is a real job, a real business that the, like partially depends on you as well." So how did you handle that part, like the pressure?
Meditation. Uh, but yeah, mainly it would be just putting in the effort and a lot of communication with the more senior developers on the project. That helped a bunch. And then just I don't know, like going with the flow and trying to adapt to whatever is thrown back at you. There were a bunch of times where new features had to be developed and stuff like that, where I might not have been ready yet. But it's kind of, you're thrown into the fire, and it's the survival of the fittest, like the strong rise while the weak fall. So I guess I would mainly say it's mainly perseverance and putting in the work, and then the output follows usually.
Perfect. Yeah, and you mentioned senior developers there. How important do you think is to have some kind of senior developer or a mentor in those early stages? And also, how important is it is to bug them, right? And just ask questions, because I know a lot of these younger developers, they first of all don't even try to find someone like that, or their company doesn't provide it. But also they are kind of afraid to ask these questions, and because they think they are bothering them or whatever it is.
Yeah, I think it's such a massive benefit, and it will help the junior developers so much to progress even faster. That it's like inexplicable. Basically, I bugged my mentor uh, like a lot, and I'm grateful that I had that opportunity. I believe that we should try to utilize like the resources around us as much as possible, and that's not something that's just relevant to like the software development aspect, but also to life in general and like hobbies and stuff like that. um, so I believe that if you're a junior developer, you should try to seek out opportunities that might offer mentorships, even though like uh, nowadays the industry isn't in the greatest shape, I would say, for junior developers, and like for making such a demand as a junior developer. But it can be really beneficial, and uh, finding a very very good mentor is pretty hard. But once you do find one, just hold on for dear life, I would say.
Well said, well said.
Uh,
You mentioned junior developers here, and a lot of these new developers struggle to pick their technology and what to work with. They have a feeling that what they pick now is for the rest of their life and it's over. What do you think is important when you are picking a technology? Is it what you're passionate about? Is it what market is searching? Is it combination of those? And how did you start your career?
yeah, that's a very good question, actually. I think that uh, what one is passionate about, that makes a lot of sense. But while like when you're in your junior days, you've got no idea what you're passionate about, and like mostly what you're gonna be passionate about is the thing that you put the most effort in. I think marketability of the technology, that makes a lot of sense. Like it might not be the best idea to pick something so obscure that you won't be able to find a job. But I would say that the choice of technology, or like the whole tech stack, isn't even that important. More important is grasping the basics and the fundamentals down, and having those down to a T. And then you're gonna be able to find your way around any other technology. I'm pretty confident that now I could pick up any technology that a project requires me to, and that I'd be able to handle myself in that technology, because it all boils down to like ones and zeros and like for loops and while loops and if statements and stuff like that. Basically, every language kind of is structured around that. So I'd say don't try like overthink it, and don't massively over focus on, well, am I doing this right? Am I doing that right? Should I go into Angular? Should I stick to React? Just try to find something that's gonna teach you the basics well, and try to enjoy the tech stack that you're in.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So just start and you'll figure it out as you go and as you'll get more experience. And it will be easier to jump these different technologies from one to another once you have these fundamentals and basics, like you mentioned.
Exactly, exactly. Yeah, a lot of people nowadays are stuck in that loop of trying to, chase the woman in the red dress, and trying to follow the hype train. That just kind of leaves you running in circles, and um, you come to a point where the work is gonna pay off, and then you kind of give up and move to a different technology. So that, in my opinion, doesn't make much sense. Like, okay, if you don't enjoy working in a certain technology, then it might make sense to switch. But it's essentially just like fundamentals and working on that.
That makes sense. And I want to move away a bit from junior developers and maybe go a bit to the projects you pick and choose. Like, do you have, from your perspective, what makes some project exciting and something a top developer would want to work on?
Well, the first and like most obvious one is probably gonna be pay. I think like everybody needs money nowadays, so that's probably the main thing that people are looking at when looking into projects. Another thing would be the tech stack. Like if I was looking for a project right now, that would really mean a lot, and I wouldn't like to get into a project in some technology that I'm not interested in when I've developed a tech stack that I like to work in. So that's definitely a big motivator. And I think that a third one, and this is might be the most important one actually, is whether the developer sees the project as something that has merit, that has a future, or like something that they could be passionate about. I would say those three are the kind of the main pillars of a good project.
Cool. Yeah. And I want to dive a bit deeper into that third one. So if the project has a future, a merit, like do you like, I would assume if project is like not necessarily more complex, but if it's something bigger, something that you can strive for and you can see yourself even using that product or something like that, does that help as well?
Yeah, definitely. That's, I think, the main selling point. They say the best products are the ones that you kind of naturally develop because you sense the need for that product, and that's how like some of the greatest products that we've got today came to like fruition. So yeah, definitely. Like imagining myself as using one of these projects is definitely a big motivator, and making me favor one project over another.
And on the other side, if you had to name like three red flags, either on a project or a founder that's leading the project, that would make you say no immediately to that project, what would these be?
That's a very good question. I would say like the main one would be if I kind of have a bad gut feeling about the founder, like if it didn't really click, or if I feel some kind of um, like disrespect or something towards me at the earliest stages, where we're all trying to show like put our good foot forward. I think that's the biggest red flag. I've had clients and founders who missed like three meetings in a row or were late for those meetings with like some kind of excuse, and in the end you don't go with those projects, because if you're not gonna put in the effort to show up for our meetings when I'm just meeting you, then what kind of future do we have working together? Low pay, uh, I would say, is another one. If they're massively underpaying, or trying to cut corners, that's a kind of a problem. I think just the general attitude towards like work-life balance, that's also a big one. If I've also had some clients who um, insisted, even like, or like try to hint in the first few interviews, that I'm expected to work like 15 hours, 15-hour days, with no paid overtime and stuff like that. That's also a big no, I would say.
Yeah, those are good ones. And does it matter for you if a founder is non-technical and doesn't understand tech? Um, and how can you, as a developer, help him shape that idea to becoming an actual buildable product?
Yeah, I think it doesn't matter basically at all. It comes with its own challenges, and it means that the developer has to have better soft skills, which is, some see it as a problem, some can see it as an opportunity to shine when compared to other developers. So yeah, it's not a problem, but it requires much better communication, and yeah, just like communicating on things such as expectations, on deadlines and stuff like that, because the client might not, or the founder might not understand those perfectly. So it helps to kind of like helps to paint the picture a bit better, if that makes sense.
It does. And I think you answered it perfectly, because there are like what founders tell me the most is like there are so many developers out there and they all promise me the world, right? They all know how to
Yeah.
do it. They will all do it in 10 days and finish everything up, right? But they still can't find someone who actually takes their product from this idea to something, to some MVP that's launchable, right? And most founders who come to us at Higher Dev, like they've already been burned by developers overpromising, not communicating clearly, or just plain disappearing, right, when things get a bit
Yeah.
tougher. And like if we want to um, avoid this from both sides, for developers and from the founders, from your perspective, what can founders do to not get burned by lists? How can they vet these developers?
Yeah, that's a massive challenge, I would say. That's why the first few interviews are like the formative ones, where you really got to feel out the vibe of the developer. Look at their CV. Although I would say that a lot of that kind of issue arises because of the founders. Um, Developers just realize that if they overpromise and underdeliver, that kind of gets them like gives them a foot through the door. um and like founders value the person who has the better CV. I would say, like,
Mhm.
even if the CV doesn't make sense. I guess vetting the person is the basically the mainly thing you can do. Vetting them both on their like soft skills, trying to gauge how um, good of an employee, uh, or a developer they would be, like how reliable of a developer they would be, uh, but also trying to gauge their technical skills, and if that means holding the like having the interview by by yourself. Uh, that's okay. If you're a non-technical founder, then maybe trying to hire somebody who's a bit more technical and having him hold the technical part of the interview while you focus on the soft skills part. Um, I guess yeah, that's the main thing you can do, and like try to communicate your expectations and like obligations that you expect the developer to uphold. While for developers, I think it would be a lot, it would be on a lot better world if we were all a bit more honest. Sometimes you won't land a job because of that, but at the end of the day, like the quality of the clients and the reviews and stuff that you do receive, if you're being a bit more honest, and like if you work on yourself and on your portfolio and whatnot, I think that improves massively. So like try not to over promise things. Don't lie in your CV. I know it's gonna get you like the job, but that's you're kind of cheating a person and promising them something that you don't plan on delivering. So I would say don't do that, and try to be upfront about things that you can do and that the things that you can't do, and the good founders will appreciate that, I would say.
I agree, and the honesty and truth and good work that you do just compounds, right? The more you
Yeah,
do, the more you get. And if you are going to cheat, it's not sustainable model. You might roll over one client, but you won't another, and
yeah,
it doesn't make any sense from
yeah, yeah.
so many perspectives.
What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen when one of your future clients that you're interviewing for, when they reach out to one of your older clients and ask for a reference? You're
Yeah,
probably not going to have a good time then. And word of mouth goes a very, 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 very like long way. It has definitely helped me land jobs, and it's led to more opportunities than like I could count, basically.
yeah, I couldn't agree more on that. Like for us, it's like a majority of our clients do come from word of mouth, and because we did a good job for you, you might recommend us, and it really holds the merit for sure. And you mentioned like reaching. What if someone wants to reach out and check on you, right? Would you recommend founders doing that, especially because nowadays with AI, you can craft these amazing CVs, and you can look amazing on paper, but in reality, you might not have any skills. Like, would that be a
Yeah.
good step for them to actually check on these projects and call the real people who are owners of these projects?
Yeah, definitely. And definitely try to get the approval of previous clients. That's a massive, like massively good advice. But also try to kind of take a look at their portfolio, maybe like a little bit. Like a little bit closer, because a lot of these people nowadays are submitting projects that aren't actually theirs. Like I've heard crazy stories about that, and sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, I guess, and they don't really care about the consequences. So definitely try to like keep that in mind, to vet both the projects, but also like reach out to clients. Yeah,
Yeah, and I want to reiterate here, like we are not looking for a perfect developer because that doesn't exist
yeah,
and it doesn't have like anything in life, right? But when you do make this mistake, like when something goes wrong, and I don't know, you push something on production that's breaking the site right now or the product, how do you handle that? The communication part, like what do you make sure to do to articulate yourself properly to the client and also make sure that this doesn't happen again?
yeah. Things like that happen to the best of us. And if you're a developer and you've been long enough in this field, either it already happened to you or it's gonna happen to you, like some kind of mistake like that. Um, we can definitely try to be more thorough with testing, with trying to inspect edge cases and stuff like that. But it's still gonna happen, like at least once. The communication part is vital here. I think it's very, very instrumental to be upfront and to be honest and not to try to like hide it and have someone else take the fall for it or something. Uh, Trying to communicate it as early as possible and trying to explain exactly what went wrong, I think is the best way to prevent as much harm as possible and trying to catch it as early as possible. Um, in those cases, I would say, either I'll try to, I'll definitely look into why the issue happened and try to find something like a hot fix or something that we can push as fast as possible to like patch the issue. If a hot fix isn't possible, then try to revert the thing to an older commit that works, um, and try to put in fail safes and techniques that will prevent that in the future. Things like unit tests, end-to-end tests. More reviews or more thorough reviews and stuff like that. Even doing a self review before pushing the commit, I think that's a very important thing that a lot of developers don't do. But it's very easy to catch things such as, I don't know, like extra console logs that were missed and weren't removed, or like small errors or semantic errors. Um, so yeah, I guess uh, that would be the main approach, but the communication here is the vital part, and the client is gonna or the founder is gonna appreciate that that you stepped up and took the responsibility, and that you tried to actually resolve the issue as fast as possible.
Yeah, great answer. So essentially, on communication part, make sure you report it as soon as you see it. Make sure you
Yeah,
own up to the mistake. So it's not
yeah,
someone, if it's your fault, like own it up. Say, hey, this happened. This is why it happened. This is how I will fix it. And then try to find a hotfix as soon as possible. And then on the other side, make sure, on technical side, make sure that next time you are more careful with it. Do your reviews, put some thought into your code, like slow down a bit, make sure it's good before doing something
yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I think that approach applies not only to development but also to life in general, and it's that way with so many advices uh, that you can give or receive based like in the field of development, like being an honest person, owning up to your mistakes. Being direct and upfront instead of trying to weasel your way out of it. Like that's gonna make you a better person, a better friend, a better husband or a wife. And I think it's only gonna like make you level up in life instead of being a person that kind of shies away from all of that and tries to um, basically shy away from responsibility.
Well said. Well said. One thing I see as a big problem in development is developers who don't think for themselves. Like many of them fall into the trap of simply building whatever is handed to them by a founder or a designer. But in reality, those developers become more of a liability than an asset for any company. Like what I found is the most valuable developers are the ones who challenge audience assumptions, understand the user, and help shape the product, and not just nod their head and say yes to everything. How can someone not maybe necessarily learn, but acquire some of these skills and maybe more self confidence into giving this constructive feedback, and question these authority figures like founders? Because founder might have one idea that necessarily is a good idea. It is a good idea, but not necessarily the best, and you can always adapt and add something your onto it.
Yeah, that's a good question, because honestly, that happens way too much nowadays in our industry. I think the main kind of fault or kind of the main responsibility lies actually on the founder in cherishing an environment and creating an environment for where people can speak up and where people can provide their own opinion on things. But a lot of the responsibility also lies in the developer as well. Um, like even if the environment is, you know, the greatest environment ever for your opinion, if you're not gonna be proactive and care about your work and stuff like that enough to offer your opinion and offer the what you think are improvements or advice, then it doesn't really matter. But uh, so definitely, like for developers, if you're a developer, um try to work uh, on your confidence, as you said, whether through like spiritual, emotional empowerment, meditation, different hobbies, uh, and stuff like that to make you a more confident person where you're able to express yourself without, being afraid of other people's opinions. Um, but also like just caring about the product, and that kind of circles back to one of the earlier points we made, like what makes a good product. Uh, I believe that if a developer really cares about the product and if they picked a product that or if they work on a project that they really think has a future or that they would use personally, that makes a huge difference in them voicing their own opinion and offering improvements. But that's those improvements are probably some of the best improvements that can happen to a project, because founders or project owners will often look over certain improvements and maybe tunnel vision on one thing, whereas they should be maybe focusing on another approach or something like that.
Yeah, I can agree to that. And also, like founders and these different product owners, they might not have the full technical view as you do, right? So,
Yeah.
kind of combine the two merges, their expertise plus your expertise. That's what makes a product. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's a very good point, especially if one is working with a non-technical founder. Like
Yeah.
they don't have the knowledge that you do, and they don't have the perspective that you can offer them. So they will definitely appreciate your perspective on things. And if you're a senior developer, that's kind of a part of your job. Like you're expected to kind of own the product a little bit, depending on the organization and stuff. Like some encourage it a bit more while some encourage it a bit less, but I think a good senior developer will offer their own opinion and like offer try to improve the product of their own accord without like being asked to improve the product.
You mentioned something interesting there. You said if you are a senior developer, and I'd like to define that because if I asked someone what is a senior developer, if I asked someone that 5 or 10 years ago, they would say senior developer is someone who has 8 to 10 years of experience in the industry. And I find
Yeah.
it wildly untrue today because a lot of these developers who do have 10, 15, 20 years of experience, they are in these big corporations that do things always the same way. They are on a huge product that hasn't evolved in both technologies and in features, and they're kind of maintaining it, and they lost its edge. Well, someone with 4 or 5 years of experience will be learning these new technologies, adapting to AI more naturally, exploring something new, and working on these new startups who are fast paced and really huge. So, what's your view on that?
Yeah, that's actually a very good point, and it kind of reminds me of the funny term "dinosaur developer," which is a developer that's kind of been stuck in one place for so long that they kind of became a dinosaurs, stuck in their old ways and stuck in the old technologies. And often you'll find that people working in these environments, they're working on projects which don't get the versions for the frameworks and libraries and stuff like that updated on a regular basis. So often they'll even only know like an older version of the programming language, which is a huge problem, especially if you want to, if you're a startup nowadays, you want to build something that's going to be performative and safe and have all of these benefits that the newer versions of these technologies offer. Whereas this senior developer um, won't actually be able to kind of accommodate that or like be comfortable in an environment like that. Whereas a person with 4 or 5 years of experience who's worked at a startup or experienced that kind of fast-paced environment, or if they're fresh, they've been recently they recently finished their university studies or like a master's degree or something, and kind of took that knowledge that they got there, apply that in a working environment and gain new skills. I think oftentimes that person is going to outperform the more senior by working years, let's say, person. um, so yeah, I think that focusing only on the number on the paper doesn't make much sense. Oftentimes it like the person with 10 years of experience will maybe outperform the person with 5 years of experience, but that doesn't have to be the case. Like it's very important to have an interview, to have an open discussion with the person, and as we said before, if you're a non-technical founder, try hiring someone or like outsourcing that part of the interview and verifying that what this person knows is actually what's best for your project and what's going to benefit you the most.
Yeah, perfect. I think this is a good point. Like, we can't have this conversation without addressing the elephant in the room, and that's
Yeah.
AI.
Yeah.
And do you use AI? And if you do, how did it change your workflow?
Yeah, I definitely use AI, and I believe that nowadays you can't really be a good developer or like an efficient developer without using AI. Although it definitely has its drawbacks, and uh, we should be wary of not overusing it, because even though it has many benefits, it also can be detrimental to our work. And sometimes it will just get stuck in a loop where you're trying to guide it into one way of thinking and it's just refusing to do so. um, and you kind of get stuck in this cycle where you're iterating on what it gave you, and you're trying to kind of shoehorn it into giving you a good solution, and you spent 4 hours, whereas if you developed it by yourself, you maybe would have spent 1 hour. And that's kind of uh, an age-old issue. Like even like 10 years ago, people would spend 13 hours automating a 5-minute job. um, and I think that kind of evolved into trying to make things work with via AI. So yeah, definitely it's definitely a useful tool. And you can be a good developer without it, but you can't also be a good developer if you solely rely on using AI for your work. I still believe that maybe the majority of our work should be done ourselves, and that kind of my opinion kind of shifted a bit lately in that regard, because I think the overuse of AI leads to us becoming um, worse developers. Uh, which is, it's kind of the sad reality uh, of AI, is that it kind of killed open communication, it kind of killed forums, it killed Stack Overflow. Like I believe that the majority of developers nowadays don't even visit Stack Overflow anymore, and they'll just kind of reach for AI and use it kind of like a, I don't know, end all be all to fix any issue.
Yeah, and I can see that as well. But also, what I can see for someone, for a capable senior developer, what I found out, they can, like, one developer now can replace 2 to 3 developers before the AI was here, right? It's 2 to 3 times efficiency for sure. But for someone with less experience, like juniors, they their default thinking is, oh, let's go ask AI. And for them, that's bad because you, as a senior developer and uh, a lot of experience, you can ask AI because you can also provide AI with the feedback. Hey, you did this wrong. Let's do it this way. You can review that code and comfortably say, okay, this is how I would have done it. But for them, they just ask these questions, generate this code that works on paper. Like if you click a button, it will lead somewhere. But it
Yeah,
all just crumbles down because first of all, it's you can't architecture is so bad you can't scale it, and second of
yeah.
all they have no clue what they wrote. So how can these junior developers, should they avoid AI entirely or maybe use it with a lot of caution?
Yeah, that's a really tricky question. Because honestly, like if I were a developer, junior developer like now, I'd probably struggle with that in that regard, where where you want to improve yourself as a developer, but you also have this tool in your hands that can massively like improve, or like seemingly it massively makes you more efficient, which as we all know, it's not always the case. And as you said, like it's often gonna give you bad code. It's not gonna be, it's gonna uh, leave certain code while it's refactoring, or maybe I've had it like different AI kind of just delete certain functionalities, like the whole functionalities from the code that was pasted in. Uh, and it's just gonna be like, yeah, here it goes. Like here's the working functionality, and then you look a bit closer and you're like, wait, you like deleted this whole thing. Oh yeah, my bad. Well,
Yeah.
a junior developer does that, and they won't notice that functionality is missing, or like if they do notice, it's kind of a tricky thing. So I would say use it, but be very, very, very like cautious of how you use it. It shouldn't be the first thing you reach for. It should be like, if you're really stuck in what you're doing, and you don't know how to uh, approach like the issue and like how to fix it, maybe ask AI. But even then, don't ask it like, okay, here's the code, fix it. Ask it maybe for guidelines, or like tips on how to approach this issue and how to fix it yourself. um, and I would say, like, even back when we had Stack Overflow before AI, often you wouldn't find, the answer to your problem. You would find like a large thread where people were communicating, sharing things, and that kind of broadens your horizon, and like broadens your viewpoint. So I think that's a very, very important thing to have as a developer. So try to resist the urge of having the AI do the work for you, and instead, try to use it to make yourself a better developer, and like to augment your own workflow, instead of kind of having the AI do the work, and you're just like the person that's steering the AI. um and you asked me about my workflow and how I use it. I would say the main thing there's two different things that I use it for. One is, building out a feature, and in that case, I would often what I try to do is, I'll try to kind of describe the feature as much as possible, to make sure that the AI knows what we're actually building, so there's no assumptions or anything like that. And then I'll try to even give it kind of the path of how I want that feature to be built out. So instead of having the AI build the whole thing it's by itself, I'll kind of try to give the architecture that I want to have. You know, give the AI the layout, let's say, of the code, and then have the AI fill out the blanks. And in that way, we have code that's good, that's performative, that's easy to verify because the AI is following our own structure, but also it's code that's scalable at a later date and that's intuitive and that we understand. The second use case would be for easy troubleshooting of errors and stuff like that. Oftentimes, when an error happens, you have to go through the whole workflow and see which part of the code base is actually causing the error. Whereas often you can just like paste the whole error and like the code that you think is causing the issue into AI, and it will kind of analyze it in a pretty efficient and fast way, and maybe give you some pointers as to where to look for the fix.
Great advice. And on the other hand, we have that's for developers, but on the other hand, we have these founders or product owners who have these huge expectations on AI, and a lot of them think that AI can handle everything. So how do you manage these expectations? How do you make sure they don't think that?
Yeah, this is actually a huge issue. I've definitely had clients who've tried building out a thing on their own via AI, and they built something that's half broken, and it kind of looks like like a product, but it's not really a product. And they built it, in 2 hours using ChatGPT or something. And they're like, here, I built this in 2 hours. Now you build it,
Okay.
as it's supposed to be built, and you're gonna charge me this amount, which is, it's not how it goes. It's not a magic lamp that you rub and a genie comes out and it creates a perfect solution or a perfect product. Uh, it's very important to, again, it comes back to open communication and to making sure expectations are well known, and um, just kind of offering our own insight and our own perspective on this on the projects and stuff, since non-technical founders won't they won't know the difference between a good product and a good code base and a bad code base. Like, on the surface it looks kind of the same, but behind the closed doors it can be wildly different. uh, and I think pointing out the issues with the product that they try to develop, and pointing out that it's not going to be scalable, it's not going to be, we don't know how it works, it's not maintainable, there could be issues that we don't expect, and just offering our own viewpoints on that. I think that's the main important thing, to just kind of give our own viewpoint, and hopefully the founder is gonna understand what's going on. And the same thing goes for founders. Yeah, sometimes a developer is gonna try to like swindle you and gonna try to overcharge you for something, but oftentimes things are estimated. They're estimated a certain way, and it's not because the developer is a bad developer or something, or they're trying to con you into paying more for that product. Sometimes it's just a more complex thing than one might kind of envision or you know um so I guess all boils down to nourishing an environment in which the founder shares their own opinion, and then the developer is, the developer shares their own opinion, and we kind of communicate on that, go back and forth, and try to find a happy medium, I would say.
Yeah, it goes back to what we were talking already. If you're a developer and founder shows you something like that, you need to be able to communicate why is that good, because it's
Yeah,
hard for anyone who's not technical to see the flaws in it, because on the front end it looks nice, it looks almost exactly what they asked. But if they ask you to change one thing, you'll need maybe hours to change a small change that in good code base could be a 5 seconds of work. Or if we want to
exactly.
scale this and add a new feature, how does that collide with the old code? Like it's really tricky. It's good for showing some early just showcases of a skeleton of something. It's not good to actually use. And th- that also brings us to the next question. Are you
Yeah.
afraid that AI will take the developer's place and that the role will disappear in a couple of years? Or do you think that the developers who are using it will kind of rise above and shine?
I would say I'm not too worried about AI taking my job. Like the current situation is on the market is kind of rough, but that's due to many factors, AI, inflation, things like that. Um, Essentially, I believe that AI is a bit overhyped nowadays, and that it is a bit of a bubble. Many companies are bleeding money trying to keep their AI afloat, and I think that it's gonna end sometime, like at one point, and the cost of AI is gonna definitely rise, which is gonna make it less accessible to every developer. So I think that's one um, part of why I'm not worried. But another part of it is just it's kind of the same with many other fields. Like math was wildly different before calculators came around. Math is still around. It's just that
Yeah.
we as people evolved into using calculators and using different tools to our own advantage. And so I think that AI won't take our jobs, but the landscape is going to change, and it's already changed so much in a way that developers who are capable of adapting to the ever-changing environment are gonna rise, and the ones that don't adapt are gonna crumble, and won't be able to keep up, I would say. So I don't think AI is going to like disappear overnight. And I won't say for certain that it's gonna disappear ever. Like I think it's gonna stick around, and developers who are able to use it are gonna be rewarded, while those who don't aren't won't be rewarded. And I guess, yeah,
Yeah,
that's
yeah, you kind of need to accept it's here and
yeah,
there's nothing you can do. Like you have to embrace it and do the best you can. It's opportunity as well. Like it's not
yeah,
just, hey, I'm going to lose my job. No, like take the tools, learn them, and learn how to adapt to what's currently on the market.
exactly, yeah.
Um, I'd like to talk a bit about mindset, and because I know a big part of being a developer is making sure you don't burn out. Like, what do you do to make sure that doesn't happen?
That's a good question, because burnout nowadays is a very big problem. You know, I've seen a lot of people burn out. I've burnt out a couple times as well. And it's mainly due to, I would say, uh, unvoiced dissatisfaction with the environment you work in. So that's a pretty big one, but also kind of the work-life balance as well, and making sure that us as developers that we aren't, closed off in our four walls for 20 hours a day, and just grinding on the product, and then not having a social life, not having outlets for our frustrations and stuff like that. So um, I would say that what helped me out a bunch was working on uh, building out my hobbies, seeing what I'm interested in, and then trying to escape the development life as much as possible. I mean, like in the private life, I would say,
Yeah,
like take care of your business, uh, finish your work, and then try to kind of do what feels relaxing to you, what um, kind of helps you
refreshing,
unwind. Yeah, exactly. Refreshes you, whether that be, gym, hiking, doing martial arts, I don't know, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, whatever it is, like going for playing tennis, rollerblading, whatever it is, whatever makes you happy, doing music, listening to music, dancing, swimming. There's so many hobbies that people can do, and unfortunately, as developers, we're often kind of keen to just be a recluse, you know, uh, hide in our own little room and not go out, which definitely doesn't lead to a fulfilling life. So I would say, yeah, that's the main thing, trying to do things that relax you and that bring back the joy into your life, instead of just being like this
yeah.
far away from a display and just typing on the keyboard. Yeah.
Yeah, that's good. And also, like these things, it's not you like you're not wasting time. Like when you are unwinding, like ideas come into your head, solutions,
Yeah.
like problems get resolved, and you're like, oh, okay. Because when you're overworked, you won't be able to solve these complex problems as efficient as when you are out, like doing some activity, like you said, like these sparks come in, and then you go back to work and you're fresh, you're better, you're faster, and you're providing a better service at the end of the day.
Yeah, definitely. And when you're feeling stressed, when you're hammering your head into the wall, stuck on a problem that you can't figure out, going for a walk or going for me personally, I like to work out. So I like to schedule my work days so that I've got a work a work block early in the day. Then I go for a workout and I come back and I work another few hours. That's been massively beneficial to me, because the workout allows me to unwind, relax, let go of my frustrations and whatnot, and I come back to my desk feeling refreshed and ready to hit the road running, so to speak. So yeah, just try to work on your work-life balance, and try to detect when you're about to burn out, and um, make some changes to alleviate that issue.
I think you mentioned something really interesting at the start of answering this question is you need to communicate that as well. Like it's
Yeah,
not enough if you don't say to your project manager, your founder, whoever it is, like you need to say, hey, we've had a huge sprint. It was really stressful. We managed to do it. Can I get a day off just to relax? Like what we do here in Higher Dev, all our developers can take day off whenever they want. So it's not, we don't have fixed, hey, you get 10 days a year and that's it. No, like
yeah,
if you feel you're crashing, burning, like just take a couple of days. Take Thursday, Friday, and go have a big weekend with your wife, kids, whatever it is, right? We really encourage that, and we often, like multiple times a month, I ask them, hey, how are you? Do you need a day? Take a day. I encourage them, sometimes force them to take a day because they are like, no, no, we need to do it. And it's a great mindset. Yes, we need to do it, but there is like you are more efficient and better working when you are good in your head, right?
Yeah, definitely. And that kind of a part of the responsibility lies on the founder as well. Uh, like if you're a founder and you offer that benefit to your employees or your developers, they're gonna be more grateful and they're gonna perform better. They're gonna put in more work because they feel appreciated. Like the projects I've made the biggest difference in were those where I felt appreciated as a human and as a developer, because then I know that I'm rewarded for my effort and I'm appreciated. So I'm going to put in even more effort and I'm going
Yeah,
to be more efficient. And I won't mind doing overtime, working on a Saturday or whatnot, because I know that it's an environment that respects me. And then, that respect is kind of given back.
mutual. Yeah, I think
Yeah.
a lot of founders are afraid of that because they see, oh, like we wasted 2 days here. But what they don't grasp is it's not wasted days, and people won't overuse it. Like they will really ask only if they need it, and most of the time they don't won't even ask. You still need to encourage them to do that because they really respect that, and like you said, it's a mutual respect, and no one
Yeah.
is like overusing it. So I think it's really good thing that you can do for your developers. Not just
Yeah.
developers, any employee or any company should do that.
That's a really good sign of a good founder. Um, like if you find somebody like that, and try to cherish that relationship, because it's gonna be massively beneficial to you. Not, there's very few founders nowadays that will offer that, and a lot of founders will try to grind you down into dust, and make you give 120% and squeeze every little bit of development power out of you. So yeah, that go
Yeah,
ahead.
but that's just without realizing that by doing that you're not 120% efficient, but you're like 60% efficient. And if you
Yeah,
had those rest days, then you might be 120% efficient because you are fresher. So yeah,
exactly.
I don't think I ever met a developer who doesn't deal with imposter syndrome. One day you feel like you're dumbest person in the room because nothing makes sense and everyone around you seems smarter. And then the next day you solve this big problem you had, and you like suddenly you feel like a genius, and it's such a roller coaster. Like how do you personally handle that as a developer?
Yeah, that's a very very important thing to talk about, because even now, after all these years of working, I still feel that way. And I still have days where I feel like I'm not good enough or lacking in some aspect of development. And as we improve as developers, often you'll get into better and better teams, where people in those teams are smarter and better developers. So it's not unusual to feel like that. But still, I think it's very important to kind of work on your own self-image, uh, and kind of reflect on what you know, and the things that you like, the experiences you've had throughout your work years, and realize that that makes you a good developer. And even though you might feel like you're an imposter sometimes, in 99% of the cases, that's not the case. But yeah, still, it's an eternal struggle. And I believe it never goes away because I still feel like that sometimes, but it's just important to not overthink it. And if the founder is happy with how you're doing and how you're performing, then I don't think there's an issue, and you shouldn't feel like an imposter.
Yeah. So don't overanalyze it, and
Yeah,
that's just normal part of like not just development, but any hierarchy, right? When you just get into a bigger position, of course you feel that way because you still need to prove yourself. You still need
yeah.
to learn all these things, but just see it as an opportunity to grow.
Yeah, but that also doesn't mean that you should, once you arrive in a new team or a new organization, that you just, lay back, relax, and you don't keep up with the recent news and stuff like that. What makes a good developer is that, they're able to adapt to new things coming up. New versions of frameworks and libraries are coming out every single day, basically. So it's still important to um, work on ourselves as developers and to improve our own skills. So it's not like, okay, just ignore the imposter syndrome and just
Yeah.
relax and go into
Yeah,
in the exact opposite direction. It's kind of a balance, I would say, that we need to maintain. Like,
of
keep
course.
working on yourself, and you'll never be an imposter.
Nice take. Yeah. Before we wrap up, I'd like to get some actionable advice from you. And if you had to start over as a junior developer in 2025 with no experience, what's the one thing you'd focus for the next 60 days to land a real job?
As I said before, like it's pretty rough out there nowadays. Uh, but I think that the most actionable steps I would take would be building out a portfolio. That's definitely like the biggest thing that clients are gonna appreciate, and just kind of having that, um, having those experiences that you can fall back on and that you can showcase, right? Nowadays, it's hard to find projects, so if that means that you have to kind of create your own um, projects, so be it. It's better to have even a few projects that are fake projects but that look nice and that feel like they would perform good, for like, if you're a web developer, like coming up with ideas for businesses and stuff like that, and then creating a website for a hair salon, creating a website for, I don't know, a restaurant or whatever. uh it's still gonna kind of make you shine in the sea of developers who, especially like junior developers who don't have those in their portfolio, and like have zero projects in their portfolio. You're still gonna be a better developer than those people. So I would say that's one of the main things. Another big thing is working on your CV. Nowadays, a lot of companies use like automatic detection tools for CVs. So, um, working on your tech stack and on the technologies is very important, because it's gonna allow you to pass the auto detection tool. Uh, and then the third point is working on your soft skills. That's gonna be, I think that's gonna be the biggest net benefit, both for your professional life but also your personal life. Like the improvements that I made to my soft skills have translated to every single facet of my life imaginable, and it's made so many improvements that it's like it's hard to even describe. So definitely, like, work on your professional skills, work on your personal skills, like soft skills, communication, and stuff like that. uh, and then just try to apply to as many opportunities as possible. If that doesn't work, if you're in web development, try to go to your local um, businesses that don't have a website or whose website is looks cheaply made or looks like it needs a revamp. Try to offer your services. If nobody's accepting your services, do a couple of jobs for free, a couple of websites for free. That could be a very big benefit to your portfolio, and you know trying to come up with ways on how to benefit from that, even if it's free, like maybe trying to come up with an arrangement where if they're happy with your work, they're gonna um, recommend you to their friends, who are then gonna pay and stuff like that. So there's a lot of ways to be creative about what we do and how we approach business and how we approach our professional life development. So just like try to be creative and try to improve as much as possible.
Great advice. Now let's flip it for the founders. If a non-technical founder has just a couple of hours with a developer, how can they test if this person can actually ship their product beyond looking in their portfolio or GitHub?
I think the biggest thing here is if you don't have the technical skills, is hiring someone who does. And you'll often find somebody, it's gonna cost you a couple $100 or something, but it's gonna be a major benefit to the quality of developers you'll find. Uh, so I think that's the biggest thing, like finding somebody who's going to be capable of interviewing these people, and then on the other side, trying to also like level up your own soft skills as a founder, so you're able to test the soft skills of the developers that you're testing as well, because it's not just about the technical skills that the developer has. Like you really need to um, try to create an environment in which people will get along, uh, meaning like the developer is a culture fit. So like even if they're the best developer in the world, if they're not a culture fit, if you can't get along well with them, or if other team members can't get along with them, then it's not gonna be a good match, I would say. So yeah, I would say those two main things, like nailing the technical part of the interview and nailing the like personal fit part of the interview, and that's the main thing that you can do, and then hope for the best, I guess.
Perfect. Ilya, this was great. Thank you so much for sharing all of this. And I think this will help both founders and developers understand each other a lot better and make some good choices. So yeah, thank you for being here with me.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. This has been such a fun experience, and thanks for the great questions. Like I think we definitely shared some very valuable insight, both for founders and for the developers. So yeah,
Agreed.
thanks again.
Yeah, thank you. See you. Bye.
See ya. Have a good one. Bye.